So hey guys, this is the second video tutorial of the Windows Services program. In this tutorial, we are going to cover the programming step for the Windows services. And in this part, I'll cover these three function and rest of the things we'll see later. So first we have to understand what is the service main function. Because in my previous tutorial, I have already explained, if you see here, the service main function working. So basically the service main function is the entry point for a service. Service main is a placeholder for an application defined function name. It should immediately call register service control handler function to specify handler function to handle control request. Then we have to specify the service type, and then we have to start the service control dispatcher function. Next we have to set the service status and send this status to service control manager. After this call, it should complete the initialization of service. Remember that don't try to start another service in this function. So if you see the programming steps for the main functions, how we are going to cover. So first we have to register our service program with the help of register service control dispatcher APIs. Then we have to fill the service status structure for the initial setup. Now, then we have to check the service status using set service status APIs. And then we have to call the service init function. This function I'm using the customize. I'll show you later. If you understand, see the complete diagram how this service main is working, because this is the backbone of our service program, the service main function. So first our service is going to call this service main function, which is already defined by the Windows. So these three things the service main function perform. First, it specifies the service type, then register service control handler function to the service control manager and send the status to the service control manager. Once the main thread get the response from the service main function, then it will start the control handler using the service control dispatcher function. Basically it will take the handle from this service main function. Then it will send the notification to the service control manager. Now this service init function is my own customized function. So this function we are using the event function to start our service and check the service has started or not. So service control handler function we'll see later. So if you see, I have already prepared the global variable declaration and some function declaration here. So first one is I'm defining here our service name. Then this service status, basically this is the structure which stores all the information about the services. And this one is the service status handle used for the registering our service. Now the service event, once I'll cover the service init function, then I'll show how to use this handle. So this the Windows services function declaration, I'll use here 8 functions. So in this tutorial, basically I'll cover the service main and service control handler function. In next video, we'll see the service report status and service init and so on. So this one is my main function. Some of the things I have already declared here because the paucity of time, I cannot cover each and everything. So this one we'll see later. First, we have to concentrate about the service main function definition. So basically this is a callback function. If you see here, the service main callback function, basically entry point for a service, and then service main function type define a pointer to this callback function. Service main is a placeholder for an application defined service name. So basically this is the argument, and if you see the number of argument in this array, and null terminated argument string passed to the service by call to the start service function that has started the services. This function does not return any value, and don't forget to read this remark section, which is very helpful to understand how the service main is working. So in service main function, what we have to do here, first we have our first step is registering the service control handler function to the service control manager. So for these things I'm using this API register service control handler A, but A you can skip that, because this one is there are three variation of this API. First one is register service control handler, second one is control handler A, and third one is the register service control handler X. So these almost these three function are same, but argument we have to check. The return type of that is the service status handle, and it will take the basically the service name and the handle procedure. If you see the main functionality of that function is register a service to the handle control request, and these two argument. Return value, if you check, the return value is service status to the handle if the function succeed. If the fails, then return value 0, and we can print the error information with the help of getLastError function. These are the possible errors. So first step we are going to see here. I have already declared this one handle, so I'm copying here. Now then I'll use here register service control handler. Then we have to specify here service name. So my service name is directly I'm writing here service name, because if you see here service name, and then we have to write the service control handler. So I'm writing a service control handler. That's it. So how can we get that this one is a service control handler? Because here here there is a one function service control handler. So that's why I'm passing at the time of registering here. So now we have to check the condition. If this return null, then register service control handler function failed, and we can print the getLastError error info with the help of getLastError function. Then we have to fill the service status initial. Basically this one is the structure. If you see here, this one is the structure. So second step is service status, we have to fill that. So if you check that, this one is the structure which contains each and every information about the services. So this one, first one, we have to specify the service type. So service type I'm using here my own service, my own services. Now that if you check here, we have to fill the control current status. What is the status of the current status of that services? Then control accepted, exit code, service specific exit code, checkpoint, and wait hint. These things we'll see one by one. So for this time being, I'm going to fill that structure. So first we have to write the service status, and then I'll fill the first. We have to, what is the service type? So service type here we have to declare service Win32 on process. That's it. Second thing, we have to fill the service status specific code, exit code. What it will tell, I'll show you the in here the specific code. If you see this one, current status, and this one is the control accepted, this one a specific exit code, a service specific error code that the service return when error occurs. So for this time being I'm putting here 0. Now we have to call the service report status function for notifying the initial setup. Remember that this function I'm not going to cover in this tutorial. We'll see in next tutorial. So for this time being, I'm just calling that here service report status. This one is my function, and it is asking first argument is the current status. So current status, what we have to pass here, service start pending. Service start pending, and then exit code. So exit code till now, because this one is an NaCl setup, so there is no error, and time we have to pass here 3 seconds, because it will take 30 seconds to start. So third step is completed. If you want to check how I feel that, so just check this the current status here. The current status, if you check here, so in current status, service continue pending, service pause, service running, service start pending. The service is starting, because we are notifying to the SCM here. So step 4 is check the service status. So for the service status, how to check what is the current status, we are retrieving from the SCM. So we have to check this function, set service status function. Update the service control manager status information for the calling service. It takes the handle for register service control handler function, and then the service status pointer to the service status structure. So return type is boolean type, and this one is the error code. If the function fails, the return code is we can print with the help of getLastError function. So directly I have already declared here the bset services. So I'm just copying here, and now here I'm using set service status, and now first I'll pass the handle. So handle is h service status handle, and now pointer to the service status structure, service service status, this thing. And then fifth step is we have to call this service init function. This definition we'll see in next video. So the service main function we have completed here. Now service control handler definition. So basically the service control handler function, each service has a control handler function. It is called by control dispatcher function from the main function. Then it will start our service control dispatcher. This function execute in the context of the control dispatcher. When the service control handler is called, then service calls service set service status to report this status to the service control manager. So these are the various control code it can accept, but here I am covering only which one is the important. So service control stop. When it accept, then service must stop, and the status of service would be service stop pending or service stopped. After the SCM send this control code, it will not send another control code because service has already stopped. So service control interrogate. It send the current status of service to the SCM. This control is not generally useful as the service control manager is aware of the current state of the service. So if you see the service control continue, basically I'm covering the 3 control code. So it notify that service is paused and it should start. So here basically this one is my own function service control handler. I'm passing only dwControl, which is I'm taking from this thing from the structure whatever we have filled earlier. So this one here we have to call, if I'm passing this stop control stop, so we have to one function report status we have to call here, and then we have to notifying here basically. So here I'm writing service stopped, and then no error, no error, and put here 0, the wait hint. If the service is stopped, so immediately it should notify to the service control manager. In here this one is the initial setup, so that's why I have written here 3 seconds. So this thing is completed here. Now we have to see our the main function. In main function some of the things I have already prepared here, we'll see later. So in this function what basically we are doing, if you run your program, so what is the initial state? So for the initial state we are filling here uh, service table entry. If you see this diagram clearly, the main thread, it will start the control handler and start service control dispatcher. So here I am filling the first the service table entry. So for the service table entry, if you see, okay, I'm just here typing the function service table entry, service table entry. If you check that, this one is a structure, and one more thing here I have to search this start service control dispatcher. So these two things are very important here. So this one is the service table entry. Another, I have already explained that this one is the so many variant of this structure. So first we have to write our service name, then service procedure pointer. Basically this one is the pointer. And if you see here, so how to fill that, basically you have to write in this format, uh, service table entry. See, I have already explained that entry A, entry W. So basically you have to refer that service entry, and then I'm writing here this, the name of the variable is dispatch table, dispatch table. So this one is the array, basically 2D array. You have to carefully fill that. So first one is that we have to specify here the service name. Then here we have to typecast. I'll show you. LP service underscore main function. So if you don't want to put the service main, if you wish, you can write anything here, but this thing map to the LP services main function. And then here we have to pass null. That's it. So dispatch table we have completed. Now we have to start service control dispatcher function, because this one is the main thread and it will start our service. So for that, here I have already covered. If you see here, dispatcher, I have already defined the function. Now we have to use the start service control dispatcher APIs. So basically it will take the service start table. So connect the main thread of a service process to the service control manager, which cause the thread to be service control dispatcher thread for the calling process. So here if you write start control dispatcher function, and if you pass simply this table name, so here I'm passing the simply table name here, and now checking the condition here, same thing, and now it's completed. So now how to write? For this time being, I'm writing here in main function if else if else if else if and then else part. So this one is the initial step for our service program. So how to fill that structure, sorry, this condition? So I'm using one function here, lstrcmpi, this one a, and then we have to pass here argv, here 1, and then I'm writing install. Basically I'm comparing the string whatever I'll pass from the command windows. We'll see one by one because this one is a very complicated program. There is no shortcut for that. So here I'm just calling the service install function. That's it. Now you have to copy this one and write here start, and here you have to call service start function. In similar way, only here you have to write stop and then service stop, these things. Sorry, this should, and this one would be delete. So delete, control V here, and I'll pass it here, delete. So these things we have completed. So I'll explain more. So here the global variable declaration, and for in this video tutorial I have covered only service main and service control handler function definition, and this report status and service init will see in next video, and install, delete, start, stop one by one. So I feel that in main function, so basically the this one, if you see this function compare the two character string, the comparison is not case sensitive. If you write in caps or a small letter, it will detect. So basically that's why I use that function. Basically very similar to the string comparison function strcmp. So I feel that in main function I feel that the service table entry, and then starting the service control dispatcher function. Now the service main function step 1 registering service control handler function to the SCM. Then service status initial status I'm filling here. Now I'm calling this function. This function will see in next video. Just for this time being you have to write it here. Then check the service status. So set service status API I'm using here, and I'm calling this init function, which will I cover in next video. And this one is the control handler code. So for this if you see in the second part of this tutorial, I have covered the int main, WinAPI ServiceMain and WinAPI Service Control Handler, and definition of the below function I'll cover in the next video. So service init and service report status. So thanks for watching this video. Do hit comment, share and subscribe.